Hey there! You're listening to Those Real Estate Brothers podcast, where Joseph and Jared share what they know in real estate and all things local, including local restaurants, businesses, and cool stuff. Which brother is more interesting? Well, you're about to find out.
What's up?
What's going on?
What's up, guys?
Do I hit that button again? No, it goes away. So, here we are, Those Real Estate Brothers podcast. We have a guest today, Manny from Lithology Brewing.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
We talk about doing things local. We can't get any more local. I could not throw a baseball to your place, but there are people that probably could.
Yeah,
I could probably hit a golf ball that far, but that's probably the limit.
I definitely couldn't throw a baseball that far.
No.
Or golf. I suck at golf.
I didn't say it'd be in the air.
It was very close. It was great because I was like, oh, the meeting, we're recording at this time. Oh, I could just go over in 5 minutes.
Right.
Stopped, got myself a coffee, a Flux coffee, talk about local, and walked over. So.
Depending on how long this might be, you might be able to get a beer at one of the places before you.
Exactly.
I don't know. Do you buy beer elsewhere, or is it like you only drink your own beer?
No, I do. It's kind of like, it's almost like cringing in a way because you know how much, like, you know how much like you could be saving if you just drink your own. But like, no, I do because then you're supporting people, right? So the money's going to a local guy. So yeah, I'll stop at Dark Horse and have a beer. See, sometimes even buy my own beer just to see how it's tasting. Make sure that people are like, oh, what are you getting? Oh, you should get Lithology. So it helps.
I think like all industries, real estate included, it's a small community. So there's a ton of small breweries throughout Long Island, and I'm sure you know a lot of them.
Oh, there's now, it's going to be 60 breweries.
60.
Which is either in planning, an alternating proprietorship, or they have their own place, or contracting.
Tell me about the collaboration, because I see often two breweries might collaborate, make something, and why is that? How does that get done?
Well, there's a couple of things with that. Like first, it's friends who know, because we all become friends, or like the community is so small that sometimes you realize that somebody you knew also now owns a brewery,
right?
Which happened to me. But like you talk enough, you go to enough festivals, and if you kind of like figure out that each brewery kind of has the same vibe, and one of you asks, hey, we should do a collaboration. So it helps out kind of a bunch of ways. You're now getting their audience. Mm-hmm. Most of the time you do have some of the same audience, but there are, definitely bigger breweries that like other people, oh, I didn't know about Lithology, and now we just did a beer with them, and now hopefully they become a fan of ours and they come and check our place out. And that's kind of how it's kind of like a marketing arm of the industry. Oh, let's do a collaboration together. That's one way. Another way, like, so we're doing collaboration with our tenant brewer, Jones Beach Brewing Company. So we're an alternating proprietorship. An alternating proprietorship is kind of how we started when it was a Taste of Long Island. So Lithology Brewing only became Lithology Brewing because we needed a brick and mortar, but we didn't want to like invest in this like huge place that we didn't know what was going to happen. And we found kind of a co-op kitchen, which was a Taste of Long Island, which is at our location, what our location is now. But it was a Taste of Long Island. There's 5 breweries in the back, and you would also share the kitchen with like someone who's making granola, iced tea, Tina from the recovery room.
Yep.
She started there as well. She was part of that kitchen. So we would sign up, put in our time. We were the tenant or the tenant brewer of the host brewer, A Taste of Long Island Brewing Company. 8 years, we were brewing there for 8 months. We then were like, oh, we want to, and we were selling wholesale only. We didn't have a tasting room. We would sell kegs. And then we said, okay, we want to find a place. And we were trying to find a place actually in Baldwin, but they wanted us to do like $100,000 worth of like sewer improvements.
Oh, wow.
So we were like, oh, that's
a non-starter.
Yeah. So we were like, this
How
is
many
crazy.
kegs is 100,000?
So we were like, that's not happening. And that month, basically, Jim, who owned A Taste of Long Island, was like, we're done. We're retiring. We're going to leave. Do you want to take this over? Because if you don't have a host brewer, everyone who's there loses their license.
They're out too.
Right.
So we were like, took like a 3-hour conversation. We're like, all right, we got to figure out how to buy. So he was going to sell us his equipment, get rid of all the other people that were like doing the granola and all that other stuff. And then we could either keep the people as tenants and also run the brewery. So we were like, all right, we're going to do that for the first year. Tell the people that were doing it, the other brewers that were there, like this is what, like Tweaking Frog was there. Let them know what our situation was and that we didn't really want to be a tenant brewer. I mean, like an alternating proprietorship.
But you gave them time.
Gave them a year. They all left, and then we eventually took over all the fermenters and made it into the tasting room that it is. And then COVID hit. And then during COVID, Jones Beach Brewing Company reached out to us because they were about to sign a lease. So those guys are all out of Freeport, and they were about to sign a lease right before COVID, like a month before. And then COVID happened, and the landlord was like pressuring them to sign. And
Of course he was.
yeah. So he's like, because nobody knew. Could be 2 weeks. Back then, this is the like, oh, we're only going to be shut down for 2 weeks, right? So they're like, oh, should we do it? Should we do it? And then Chris is very involved with reaching out to a lot of different brewers. And he had reached out to my partner, John. Hey, I remember you guys used to do this alternating proprietorship. Would you guys be interested? Now, during COVID, we were like, this is a good idea because this is going to help us out with our rent and like revenues. So we started the process, and it took the SLA a year.
Wow.
For them to.
Well, I guess they shut down in a sense.
Yeah. So it was crazy, but the guys were helping me brew to learn how to brew on my system while that was happening because they needed to figure, like they were going to move in, be a tenant brewer and brew on my system. And normally you have to, for them to do that, they have to brew with me like twice, but they brewed with me for a whole year. So it was great. The guys would like there's like 7 of them. So at least 2 guys were helping me out.
It made it more fun too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of brought me back to the way home brewing was.
Right.
Because I'm alone brewing. Like my partners all have other careers that help out the brewery. And whatchamacallit, I usually brew kind of like by myself. And you're not like, you don't have like the joking around and all that other stuff. And with them there, it kind of like revitalized my like feeling about brewing.
That's cool.
Having a couple people around helping you during the pandemic must have been nice because your tasting room was essentially closed. I mean, it was mostly just to go or maybe only to go. So having some people around to just shoot the shit with is kind of nice.
Basically a drizzly driver. You were dropping off beer.
I mean, that helped a lot too. But like, I was definitely, I'm an extrovert, so I need to be around people to like feel energized. So like, the pandemic was a little tough for me. Like I was like, my niece helped also like during the like delivery stage of the pandemics and stuff. But there were times that I would just like be there and just be like, like I'm talking to myself.
Right.
Like,
we had that in 2008 because the real estate market had just totally died, and we'd go to work not sure what we were supposed to do all day, and we would sit at our desks and stare at the computer, hoping the phone would ring. It was only telemarketers, so it gets, it's kind of soul sucking. It's draining to kind of just be alone with not much to do, isn't it?
People are like, oh, this is your passion. It's great. But owning a business is owning a business. You're putting out fires all the time. So, your passion gets lost sometimes. So having the guys come in kind of like brought it back. Like I cared about brewing again, where it was like, you start, I have this shirt, booze pays the bills. You're just worried about paying bills, especially during the pandemic. Yep. It's like, so like having them back. So anyways, we just did a collaboration with them. So we're their host brewer. They brew at our location. With that, they can do wholesale. We have a guest tap on, and they also contract a lot of their, like 2 of their like very popular brands at Great South Bay because they have a license at our location. So they're able to do this. They're going to celebrate their year anniversary coming up.
Do you always have a guest tap on? Pretty much. Yeah. We also have like guest mead. We also have guest cider. Mead Works?
Yes, of course.
Love that place. Joe's the man.
Yeah.
You and your mead.
He's a big bear.
So like it's, so because we're a New York State Farm Brewery, we're allowed to have guest taps of other New York State things. Could be wine, cider, mead, other beer. So by law, we're allowed to have Jones Beach because they're a New York State brewery as well. So they make their beers has to have at least 60% of New York made ingredients in their beer for us to serve it. So they're on tap all the time. They're about to do a tap takeover.
I saw that
this weekend.
I think
actually,
I shared it. Yeah.
Where they're going to be behind the bar, and it's going to be their place. And they're going to put all their beers that they've made because they're celebrating their year anniversary coming up. But we did a sour together. So we collabed, we brewed together, we had everybody come down, and we were just came up with a recipe for a sour, and it's called Outwash Beach, and it's doing really well. But that's, we were talking about collaborations, that helps their fans know about us and our fans know about them.
I hear beach in the name. It reminds me of maybe a goza. Is it similar to that, or is it a traditional sour?
It is a kettle sour, so it's kind of like a goza. It's definitely, there's salt in it. It's orange, guava, and passion fruit.
That sounds good.
Kettle sour. So we can't sour, like the true sour where they put the souring bug, if you will, in the fermenter could destroy our whole system. So what we do is we put it in the boil kettle, leave it 2 days, so it stinks up the place, because you're really just...
True sour is like the stuff that they, back in the day in Europe, like the,
I mean, like sour beer started because beer went sour. And then someone's like, oh, this tastes good. And then they figured out how to like enhance that.
Isn't that how all alcohol gets started? Like nobody at 21 has their first beer and is like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like at some point you just get used to drinking it because you wanted to drink it. And then you're like, oh, I actually acquired a taste for beer that went sour.
I love beer. I love all beer.
Yeah.
I went on a sour quick for a while. You make a mean IPA.
Oh, thank you.
The only beer I can't drink.
You like the Crispies, right? The like light.
No, well,
Pilsners. Jones Beach has a great Pilsner.
That's how I started. But so during the pandemic, president of the chamber, clearly our brewery on Main Street that has a tasting room was going to have some, way more trouble than a Croxley's or somebody else that's really big, could do a lot of to-go food. So I started buying Lithology beer, and I asked, what's the closest thing to Bud Light, which is a question you love. I've learned.
Love it.
So you sold me some Pilsner or something, and you delivered it, you didn't even knock on the door, like it got left on the stoop, and I got a text.
What a
your
crazy
beer's on the
time.
stoop. And so I started drinking that, and my wife likes heavier beers, so then we would get it some others, and you'd run out, so all right, I'll try this brown kind of beer. And my beer journey since March of 2020 has gotten all the way to IPA, but hasn't crossed over. So all the other types, ales and I don't know, all the other stuff.
Have you tried the dry hop pale ale?
I have.
The designated hitter?
Yeah.
That's our people's favorite.
That's a
I'm
little...
sure. It's a light IPA.
It's got a
right?
touch of sourness to it. That's the one, right?
No, that's a different one. But designated hitter is a...
that's the one I drink all the time at
citrus,
Elise's nieces, yes.
It's a citra hop, dry hop pale ale.
Yeah.
So I call it a light IPA because the citra hops is so strong that it does kind of give you a light bitterness. But we've made it since like day one of being here. So... it's called designated because when we took over the place and we needed to have like our beers out, we had the little kegerator. The tasting room doesn't even look like the same.
No, it looked like an office back then.
Yeah, it was crazy, and we did so much. We've changed it 7 times. I just changed it again.
And it wasn't open back when you started. It wasn't open for people to walk.
No, you couldn't go in the back because the kitchen, the stove was there, and the SLA hadn't approved the barrier that we finally just built. But whatchamacallit. So it's called designated hitter because we had an American pale ale. Our legal American pale ale is like a very malty, easy drinking pale ale, not hoppy. So we had that. We had 2 vessels that were filled with that, and we were like, we need to have a different beer on. We now need to serve more beer because out of nowhere we owned the brewery, and we brought. Let's dry hop it. So we wrote DH on it. And one of the partners that used to be partners with us, no longer a partner, good friend, Mark, was like, he loves baseball. He's like, let's call it designated hitter. And we're like, all right, sounds good.
There you go.
And that became designated hitter. So.
Is that one of the harder things, naming your beers?
Used to be. We used to like waste so much time texting each other. Oh, this is the whatever. And then you just make fun of each other, make fun of each other's moms, make fun of each other's dads. And then if whatever the last text was becomes the name.
Right.
So
now,
there's a method.
Yeah. Sometimes we try to stay lithology themed. Other things, it's like what happened during the brew. Maybe it's like we have like a Main Street IPA. Well, obviously that's because
How'd
we're on Main Street.
How'd you come up with that?
But we have like the legal pale ale. The legal pale ale was because it's the first beer we ever made as a legal brewery. And the first keg that was kegged was keg number 21. So we're like, let's call it legal.
A lot of these names come from basically very, very simple reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Lithology Brown Ale, easy. No one really knows who Lithology was at the time. Let's just call it a brown ale. Like, don't go crazy with the name Lithology Brown Ale. Because we want, if it's my favorite beer that we make. People who like brown ales will buy it, and then they'll start to learn the name Lithology.
I was at a brewery, not a brewery, at a bar during like Halloween time, and there was a beer named it was something like to the realm of "This is not a pumpkin," and the bartenders absolutely hated it because what does everyone ask when you see a beer named "This is not a pumpkin"? Is that a pumpkin beer?
Almost makes sense that the beer called "It's Not Pumpkin" would be pumpkin.
I'm sure the brewers were real witty, but the bartenders did not like that very much.
No, it's a sour or whatever.
We named ours this year "Wait Till September" because all the pumpkins are coming out in August
right?
now.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, you shouldn't be drinking pumpkin in August. That's crazy.
I mean, I love summer beer, all versions of summer beer. So why rush the pumpkin beer? I like it on Halloween afternoon, walking around with the kids, polishing off 8 of them. That's nice. But after that, it's no thanks.
My summer beer is just a session IPA.
Yeah, no, that's a good. I love session IPAs.
I went into Lithology. It might have been early this summer, or maybe last, and you look it up there. It's some kind of watermelon thing, some kind of orange or lemon or citrus. I'll take this, I'll take that, I'll take that. He goes, oh, you just ordered the fruit salad. It was the 3 fruit beers.
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah.
I don't know.
We actually had that as a, the fruit salad like turned into like, get the 3-pack.
Right.
Fruit salad 3-pack, yeah.
There's never a beer that you can't have. Like the whole trying, hey, can I try this? Hey, can I try that? Just give me that one.
Yeah.
I might like others better than another, but I'm not going to dislike it. I will enjoy a 12-ounce beer or a pint.
You're the best client to have. I hate when people come in and they're like, I'm like, just, okay, I'll give you a splash.
Like you're not buying a car.
They're like, I'm like, listen, the worst case is like you take 2 sips and you don't like it, and I'll replace it with something that you're going to like here. But like, you walked in, why not just try it? Like, that happens at festivals.
They'll stare at the menu for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, people are like, they're at a festival. They paid $45 to get this ticket to come in and try. There's a bucket to throw out if you don't like it. Go and try.
Right.
Like, what's the worst thing? You spit it out. Like, you'll get over it. It's just beer.
How bad could it be?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's some bad beers, and I've definitely made bad beers, and I've definitely made beers that people don't like. And it affected me in the beginning where I got offended. But then I'm like, it's all subjective. Like, if you like a brown ale that's coppery and not chocolatey, you might not like my brown ale. Mine's kind of in the middle. But like, if you like that style, you're gonna love my brown ale. Like the only time I want a bad review or you to say something is if it did go sour, if the beer tastes bad or stale, like it stalled out. The beer should have been changed. It should have been kicked by now. It's been 8 months that it's on, and we didn't realize this keg's got to go.
But if you don't like the beer, how could you write a bad review?
People do that all the time, man. There's the guy who hates IPAs and he rates IPAs. Why?
Right.
Right.
So Joseph, don't ever rate an IPA.
No, listen, that's a me thing. That's not anybody else. My son is 5, Anthony, my youngest son, and my wife made chicken last night, like a Indian style butter chicken. It was amazing. It was super tender and soft and juicy. And he takes one bite. He's like, I don't like it. You like chicken? Dip it in the ketchup. It's fine. It's too soft and it's not hard enough for me. So I don't know what kind of chicken we've been feeding him, but it's all about preference, right?
Yeah.
If you like one thing, it doesn't mean the place did it wrong. It just means I don't like their style. Find a different place or try something different. But that drives me nuts. You go out east for the wine, like to the wineries. That's a thing I like to do. And we'll try a tasting. And then what I found was, by the time you finished it, you finally decided if you like it or not. That 1 ounce pour, and then what? Now you got to try something different. No, just give me a glass of wine, and if I don't like it, I'll get another one next.
I'm kind of the same way when I go to the wineries. I'll just buy a bottle.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a tasting.
No.
I
like going to the wineries. What's your favorite place?
Lieb. We just actually, I like to say I joined the winery, which is just a member of the wine club, but I pretend it's a country club and I belong to it. And we got we had a little too much to drink there, and the woman, oh, you could do this and that, and it's all right. Sign me up for the wine club, which is just. It's a really interesting model. It's a subscription model. 3 times a year or 4 times a year, you have to buy $100 worth of wine.
Yeah.
And you get to feel like, you did something other than pay full price minus 10% for a bottle of wine or 3 bottles of wine. So
Yeah.
that's the best one out there.
Yeah, my wife loves wine. I mean, I'm a wine drinker too. I could definitely polish off a lot of bottles of wine, but she's the one that remembers all the names and
You ever go to Jason's?
whatchamacallit?
They got alpaca there.
No. That's awesome.
they got
She would love alpacas.
It's right.
That's a cool winery.
I think it's in Jamesport.
Jamesport.
It's just a few minutes outside of Riverhead, so it's not far.
Yeah.
And they got 2 alpaca, a couple of sheep.
That's awesome.
And the wine's great. I love the wine.
It's like an older Greek guy, and he walks around doing his thing.
That is awesome.
Is that, I'm thinking of Clovis Point. Jason's.
Clovis Point.
Jason
Clovis Point is awesome. I like Clovis Point. That you just reminded me of the name. We've now started going to Bedell. I carry Bedell at the brewery.
Really good. Bedell's really good.
Carry Bedell at the brewery. So I was like, I gotta go there. So we went there.
Did they put out the red carpet for you when you?
They did actually.
That's cool.
Yeah, they found out that I was coming, and it was a really good treatment.
That's
and
cool.
I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
We only have them on right now, and we have them on kegs tapped also. So we have their rosé on tap in the summertime. So it was good. I started really liking them. Clovis is really good. Channing Daughters was another one that I liked for a while. But yeah, we go there a few times a year. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. We used to go
I like to keep going to Greenport and get some oysters at what is that, North Fork Oysters? No,
I just picture the place. The
I call it
backyard.
chuck your own oysters because that's what the pint glasses say. Chuck your own oysters.
We're gonna actually do a oyster stout with a local oyster guy that sells at the Restoration Farm.
Mm-hmm. They sell oysters up there?
They do.
Oh boy!
And he's like, "Hey, I have all these shells." I was like, "Let's make a stout because you could make an oyster stout with the shells." And then I was like, and then have the guy come and chuck oysters the day we release the stout.
If you don't tell me when that is,
oh, I will,
dude. If you set up oysters in the back out there,
yeah,
Jared and I can come there and probably polish off about 200.
I love oysters.
I'll be a guest chucker if you want.
Yeah, I'll help out. I can help out. It takes me a
Dude,
little while, but
the farm guys are they probably would love that. They love local. They love just having a good time and chilling and stuff. They'll probably bring somebody that play good live music while we're just all hanging out.
I bet it's one of the guys out on the North Fork. We were driving through this past time we were out there, and they have these coolers on the side of the road, and it's what do you call that? Honor system. You leave
Venmo,
money in the
or you can Venmo.
And you take a bag of oysters, 25 or 50 or whatever. I thought that was first I was like, this isn't legit. This is some guy buying them at Restaurant Depot, and it turns out it is legit. It's the actual oyster.
The honor system thing is crazy because you think people are just evil, and then because you get very cynical.
You can't do it here,
but
Nassau County.
You then because that's a very European thing. You see that when you go traveling in Europe, just take and leave what you want or whatever. You leave what you take, right? I think it's great because then you kind of start to find out that people are actually not as evil as you think they might be.
So in Riverhead, we talk about North Fork. There's a place called Goodale Farms. It's all goats. It's a goat farm. And inside, they got a whole shop of eggs, meat, cheese. I mean, the works.
Yeah.
And it's all the honor system. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So much so, if you need change, you can go in the change box and get
That's
change.
crazy. That's really crazy.
In Vermont, when I drive up I have a house I go snowboarding in Mount Snow, and at 2:00 in the morning, there's a stand open on a Route 2, and I'm like, there's no one there at 2 in the morning, no way. And it's an honor system thing. You can pull up and get groceries.
That's cool.
And leave the thing and go.
They got to start having chicken wings and French fries and to go
I'm like, it's 2
Arby's.
in the morning. You still have this thing open, but I'm like, first of all, there might be a camera. Who knows? But
I doubt it.
But they probably have been doing that for so many years. They're just let's.
The losses work out to a certain dollar amount, that people take too much or they made a mistake on the change or whatever, but it probably works out. When we go upstate, which is on the other side of the New York border from Vermont by where you're talking about, it's real rural. Washington County, nobody goes there. So there's tons of those farm stands, but they're not touristy farm stands. It's a guy, you might be in front of a construction barn where he's got his ladders and equipment, and there's a table with tomatoes. And we finally got our minds around like having small bills in the car when we go up there, because that guy's tomatoes, he took what he could eat or can or whatever, and now there's leftovers.
Yeah.
They're the best tomatoes you'll ever eat.
Yeah.
And all kinds of veggies and eggs, which might almost pay to take a ride up there just for the eggs right now. It might be cheaper.
I think the SLA might have a problem if you try that honor system thing.
No, that wouldn't really work out. Which one call it? The back to the Restoration Farm, they do eggs too, and their eggs come from the chickens that eat our grain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they pick up our grain, our spent grain that we use for brewing, and I'll just text them, got grain. I actually want to get a shirt that says that. And he'll use it as a compost or just to feed the chickens. And those guys, even like when they have over too much, like we call it a root beer. Not root beer as in what you're talking about. Root as in like the vegetable roots. Like,
right.
So we do a beet and carrot beer.
Nice.
With their over.
What color is that?
It's red. Yeah, it's really red-ish. People love it over there because they serve our beer there.
Right.
In like, crowlers and stuff. Because he loves like reusing glass and shit.
Does it have like an earthy taste to it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Sounds good.
I don't particularly love beets, so I make it out of labor of love for the fact that we're using, he comes with whatever he's got left over from the beets and the carrots that he didn't get to sell, and we now make it into the beer that he gets to then serve at his place. Which is cool because
that's
kind of like,
that's the old way, right? Like I make this, and I'm gonna take what I don't need, and I'll give you some, and then you're gonna do something with it, and you're gonna give me some, but you're also gonna give some to the guy who makes hinges, and now you could have a door on your cabinet.
Exactly.
Or whatever. I mean, that's the way it always was, and with prices the way they are, and just way things are, a lot of that stuff's starting to come back.
Yeah, there's another woman who now takes your spent grain and makes dog treats out of them. And now and sells them. We had her over for an event, and
can we make a house with it, Joe?
Yeah, I wanted to make the first.
Sure
house out of spent grain.
I'm sure. I was just watching a documentary with Zac Efron where it's like every episode is like he's in Australia, basically the second season, but it's like a place that's doing something to help with climate change and reuse, no waste, reduce the waste. This guy's house in Australia, it's made from, I think it's grain.
And
like
rocks,
the insulation, they made it into a thing that could build a house, insulate the house.
There was a house somewhere.
I'm gonna pitch my wife on that. You want to live in this house?
There was a house somewhere from used beer bottles because they stacked well.
Yeah.
And because they have a chamber of air, it works as an insulation. And when you stack the bottles, it could hold a roof, apparently.
That's awesome. The bad thing is that there's no way to, if people started getting subsidized for it, it'd be the number one thing being done, but it's expensive. So then people shy away from it.
That's the problem.
Well, now everything's getting expensive. So the reduce, reuse, recycle, the reuse seems to be now becoming more common.
I was actually hoping that Farmingdale was talking about local stuff. I've seen this in LA on Instagram. It's a place that sells dishwasher soap, shampoo, conditioner, but it's all pumps. So you have to come there. They basically, when you first go there, you get like a growler basically, and you come in and you get your stuff filled. So it's constantly promoting less plastic. So you come in. It's doing really well in LA, and I'm like, why isn't there one here?
So
I think that would be great.
There's a guy in East Farmingdale that is a Italian food importer, and he's a wholesaler, but he opened a retail shop, and I can't say the company's name. I'll butcher it, but it's a 111 Mill Bar. I can't even picture it. It's got so many vowels.
Take one shot at it.
No,
mess with it.
And he bakes some bread. He's basically a guy like if you were importing and had extra time on your hands because the guys are loading the trucks. Let me mess around with this. But they have these giant stainless steel vats of olive oil. So you buy your bottle of olive oil.
Awesome.
And then you bring the bottle back when it's used, and you just go over to the vat to refill it, and it's a few bucks less because you don't have to pay for the glass, and it's more than a few dollars less. But you'll have that bottle of olive oil now for decades probably.
Sure.
Because you just keep going and refilling from the vat.
I think it's a great idea.
Is that an honor system?
No. He don't let you out without checking your bags.
It's all about weight, probably, or just like, yeah, you fill up that glass. Here it is.
That's cool.
But it's also one of those places that, like an old school place. If you brought your own glass, I'm sure you could fill it, and he's going to give it by.
Yeah, it's like
you
this.
Give me $10.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think more and more it would be great to do that. You know, like I don't mind filling growlers when they come in. I just mind stocking the growlers. It was really expensive to hold that much glass. Because, like, for me to get growlers again, and all breweries started doing this. Now they have that crowler, you know, the aluminum can.
Which I think you were one of the first.
Here, we weren't the first on the Dubco, I believe, was one of the first. But
you're one of them.
Yeah. So what that did is everybody's like, why are you getting rid of growlers? And I didn't get rid of them. I just can't stock 2,000 growlers to make it cheap enough for me to buy them.
You got to buy in real bulk.
I had to buy in bulk. And then they're sitting there, and like people stopped buying growlers because it's a lot, 64 ounces. So they went to the 32 ounce. Okay, it's aluminum. It's a little bit better for the environment because you can recycle better. But I love when people still bring in their growlers. Like, bring in a vessel. Like, we'll fill it up.
Here's my canteen. I'm going on a hike. Can you fill it up?
Yeah.
I have this awesome growler from Victory in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So we went there. My wife's family has lives over there, so we visited. And it is the coolest growler. It's got like this really cool shape. It's got a metal handle, one of those
little cap,
those Grolsch type caps.
Yeah, those are good. Those are great.
They're awesome.
Actually. Yeah. That's expensive to.
I couldn't imagine what
that's expensive to like get as a thing for us to sell, right? Like people are always like, well, why don't you have more merch? I'm like, that's a lot of money to like out of pocket. Wow. You're putting money out for merch, but like, it's a lot for me to get 25. It's going to cost you 100,
right.
But if I got 100, it's it's going to be less. But I can't keep all that, and like we're a small business. I need to buy grain. I need to invest in making better beer and all that stuff. So like people are always like, oh, just get it. I'm like, well, you get one and just come and I'll fill it. I'll stick a sticker on it for now.
Everyone's got great ideas.
Yeah. People love to run my business. People love it. Oh, why don't you get this? Why don't you get this shirt? I'm like, I'm going to get that shirt for you to buy, but everyone else is not going to buy it. So, like,
well, speaking of new ideas, you were telling me that you have something coming up in your place.
Oh, yes.
A little entertainment.
Again, we've changed our brewery about 7. We've been here for 8 years, 7 years, 7. Man, I forget every time.
It's hard to remember that far back.
So, every year we've changed the brewery.
You're drunk all the time. You can't remember.
Nah, I don't really drink that much. Every year we change the brewery. Every year we're like, this is the last time we're going to change it. But like we've changed, we updated during the pandemic. I took a time to finally update the wall, take down some things. And then since now we have the SLA approval that we can hang out in the back, that door was killing me because it made it seem
separated,
2 separate things,
right. Which it was, frankly.
Yeah, and it made it seem a little smaller because you're in this little quaint tasting room and you're in the back. Okay, good for private parties, but now I was like, I'm going to take down this wall. So I took down the wall. It looks so much bigger.
I bet.
Must look great.
And then I'm like, all right, we got to change something up. We're putting it, as we're speaking right now, there's a jukebox going in.
Nice.
So we're going to have jukebox, maybe even foosball.
Nice.
Because I've been wanting to do in my European side, it's like, I just want foosball.
There's very few people that play a complete foosball game and get into it. It's more like they hit it a couple of times.
Oh, no.
I don't know how to play foosball. Like, I mean, I know how to spin the things and the ball moves around and then go play video games.
When I was living with 4 roommates right out of college, we got like this professional European foosball thing where we got into elite. The people were coming over. We had like 8 teams going, tournament style, and like playing with the softball. Do you know there's a softball ball like made out of cork?
No.
And you could like, my friends got so good at it that like he could like dribble with it, pop it in the air, go to the other thing, score. It got crazy. Now I'm just like whatever. But there's times when if I see a foosball at a bar, I'm probably staying on for 2 hours playing that game. Like, I like playing foosball.
Once people start something like that, they'll hang around because all right, I got next. All right,
Yeah,
well, I got to wait
exactly.
because he's not ready to play yet.
Yeah.
I got to wait.
So if
Definitely
you do those two
excited.
things, you might be the only one with a jukebox and a foosball table on Main Street.
I know there's a jukebox in Hawaii. Blue Hawaiian has a jukebox, the same as ours. We're getting In Touch, which has like an app. So yeah, we wanted to bring in like little change. Our playlist is great, but it's great to like give somebody else a chance to like listen to songs that they want to hear.
I love it. I think it's fun.
You know,
I remember Sal's place back in the day. They would you'd get in not really fights, but like battles over the music, and now you had to wait till your song came on because the other guy just played some weird '80s music, and now I'm gonna play hip hop, and we're gonna push the old people out, and then they were gonna push us out with ballads.
So there's
We used to have the button at Sal's place.
Yeah,
the
that's
button
right.
was a
bro.
skip.
One time I almost got killed at it's now Black Sheep, but it used to be called something else. I forget, in Mineola, and I knew where the button was.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is that the place
I
right
was
at the train station? Black Sheep?
no.
Okay,
This is
anyway.
on the corner by where Western Beef is.
Okay, yep.
So they're a craft beer place, but I had found out where the button was, and
Once you know that, once you have that information,
I
the
was
second you
drunk
hear a
enough
song-
to joke around, and I was so mad about the song that I was on, and I was like, Phew. They kicked me out. They were like, "No, you can't. You took it. We told you." You didn't need to abuse it, but that button, that was a good button. No,
Yeah,
great button.
yeah.
It's
Great
like,
button.
if you did, I just didn't do discreetly enough to do it. But they were just mad because they know that somebody would have been like, "I paid for that song," and then,
I mean, that's a bartender's nightmare. Like, well,
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Well,
I
it's
don't
gotta
want to. I'm not the DJ. I'm
Yeah.
the bartender.
If you're pushing that button, you better make sure you're a local guy.
Oh yeah. Because like it's only $1, right? Or back then it was probably it's probably about
Like
$1.
2 songs for $1. Or
Yeah.
something.
So like you could just give somebody $1 again, but like if someone's drunk enough and you just skip their song, you might be treading on
yeah.
bad.
That was such the move back in the day. Like you grab a girl and say, "Hey, I need your help picking a couple of songs."
Yeah, no,
It's such
it's
an
good.
icebreaker.
Yeah, you could do that. They're right next to you, like, oh, what would you pick?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was. So now it's on an app too, and you could pay to be next in line.
Right.
So you pay more money. So obviously this is like helping with some passive income for us. First of all, what I was explaining to you, it's 2 things that are going on. I don't even care about the passive income. I'm hoping that helps with like credit card processing
Right.
fees, but it's more about like, all right, well, I just paid $5 to listen to songs. I'm staying.
Yeah. You got to wait till your song is
I'm
on.
not leaving because I'm not paying that extra unless I really want to leave. I'm going to pay that extra to have it queued up. But then someone's staying for another pint, and that's going to help us a lot.
And the energy too. When 3-4 girls or 3-4 guys go in and they play that one college song that they absolutely loved,
Yeah.
they're going nuts. They're drinking it more.
Yeah.
The energy's elevated.
So someone told me, like, when you drink and you just want to hear a song,
Right.
like, when you just like, you're hanging out with your old friends and, oh, man, remember that song? Oh, let's play it right now. Like, because before, like, we just have our bartenders play their playlists, and they're great playlists. But, like, there could be 3 or 4 people that walked in that kind of like, okay, this is fine, but now let's move to the next place where this might keep them there.
Do you have control to taper some of the
Yes.
songs?
So he told me, and that after this, I'm going to get taught on how to different things. First,
So I'm not playing
the background
I'm not going there and
music.
playing Big Pun.
No, you will. So I'm not going to really regulate anything if it gets too abusive. Like if someone comes in and wants to play Baby Shark or as a joke.
That was the thing you did
5
on the
in a
way out
row.
of a bar. A couple
Yes.
people pissed you off. All right, here you go. Here's some
Yeah.
awful song.
Burger King
Exactly.
used to have one of those.
Yeah,
And we used to play before we left like 10 times. War.
What is it?
That's a nightmare. You sit there trying to eat your
10 times
cheeseburger.
we left. Little did we know the workers probably knew the button and then
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
spent all that money for no
Meanwhile,
reason.
no
you're,
reason.
you're at Burger King instead of like Wendy's or somewhere good or the diner, and like, oh, I gotta, I'm buying off the dollar menu, and the penalty is I gotta listen to War 15 times.
Yes. So like he said, first of all, the background. So they play like B and C music to get you to want to listen to the
makes
A
sense.
music, which makes sense. Like you don't want to play all the good ones, like,
Right.
or else who's buying? So, and he said you can also. So we know the kids on Sunday. Kids are there from like 12 to about 5, 6, right? Because a lot of people who like craft beer now have kids. They're bringing their kids to the breweries. It's a thing. It's no longer a taboo to bring your kids to where alcohol is. There's some breweries even building like playpens because of this. So
the ball pit on Maine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So he's like, oh, we can set like parental guidance where like everything will be bleeped out, or you play the clean version of the song. But after a certain time, I'm gonna let you play, Jadakiss if you need to, kiss of death. Like go.
I don't know. I don't mind. I mean, some of the really, hip hop stuff might be a little too much for me in front of my kids, but I don't mind. Like, so it's a word. Like these are words adults use, and you're a kid, so you don't. I don't know what it's
a
hang up for people.
Yeah, it's more of a teachable.
And that's how I learned. Like, I knew I couldn't say those words. I knew them. Right. I just couldn't say them around my parents.
You know what? Anyone that thinks they don't know them and they're going to elementary school, they know them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're around. So especially like on TikTok and social media, YouTube, whatever.
I mean, I'm guilty of it. I know all parents are. So like you let your kids on YouTube mostly unsupervised, but you're worried about the song that came on at the brewery.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like cherry picking, which is huge now.
Well, that's the way.
The IPA reviewer that doesn't like IPAs is going to have a problem with your music.
Yeah. I went there. Their IPAs were way too bitter, and they had curses on their music.
So speaking of that joke, I had a Yelp viewer when we first opened, and there was a paragraph. He didn't really like our beers. Fine, he's local. I haven't figured out who he is, but he got 1,000 views of this comment, this 2-star rating. One paragraph was about the fake flowers we had up. No joke. Talked about fake flowers.
That says it all.
And how it's so easy to get succulents and just have people water it. And I wanted to respond, have you ever owned a company and told an employee one extra thing to do? If you haven't, you should never comment on what people are doing with their decor, on whether real plants should be there. Real plants are hard to take care of at home. It took me 5 years with my wife to figure out to get a green thumb. We would kill everything, and now we got 32 plants around the house. But it took us a long time. And I'm thinking...
So you don't have any at the brewery, though?
No, I'm starting, though. Watch. So
you get a hot plant or something.
So we got rid of all the fake plants. The guy reviewed us again recently, right after the pandemic, and he finally found one beer that he might like. So I wrote... So again, can't take it personally. So I was like, I'm really happy that you're starting to find beers that we like, and our beers have gotten better for you. I'm glad that you live close by, so you have to come. He's like, I have to go there because not many things around. I was like, I just want to let you know, you'll be glad to hear that the fake plants are gone, and that we are planning on doing some real plants soon. That was my response to him. But it's so crazy what's annoying is like, you gave me a 2-star
because you didn't like my
do you understand what that does to an overall rating? Like, people have to also understand, behind local businesses, there's people. There's people who are trying to pay their bills at home. There's people who are trying to pay for their daughter's traveling team. Like, you give them, like, I've gotten beer was great, 1 star.
Right.
On Google.
I think some of that's bot stuff, man. I don't get it.
And it's like, I get it. If you have a really bad time, first of all, what you should do, email the owner. This is what my opinion is. Email the owner. They will take care of you. If they're a good owner, very sorry that happened. Really, we'll figure out what went wrong. We'll speak to a bartender, blah, blah, we'll figure out. This happened on Yelp one time. Guy got double charged, blah, blah, gave us a really bad review. So I corrected it. I wrote to him. The whole thing was on Yelp. He corrected and gave us a 4-star after. It's great. But I wanted to say before rating, why not reach out to the people first? And then if they're...
I'll tell you why.
What?
People are afraid to talk to each other.
Yeah.
We deal with that with real estate, right? Like, you have an open house. You talk to somebody for 10 minutes. You showed them the house. They seemed really nice. You seem to vibe a little bit. You call them on Sunday. Hey, it's Joe. It's, a lot of times it's text anyway. Hey, it's Joe. We met yesterday. Really great meeting you. Just wanted to follow up. What'd you think of that house? Crickets.
Yeah.
What's it take to just say, I didn't like it. I didn't like you. Or, something. So you think, okay, they must not have liked the house or me, and that's it. That's the end of it. And the good agents will keep following up, and finally, after like 12 or 15 contacts, they get back to you. Oh, thanks so much. You know what? I think we did like that house.
Crazy.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? But people are afraid to pick up the phone and talk to a business owner and say, listen, the bartender last night was really nasty to me, and I don't know why. It seemed like I just wanted you to be aware.
Yeah.
You'll review some film and be like, no, the guy's nuts. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or maybe the bartender was kind of nasty.
Maybe he or she were having a bad day, and now I have to talk to them. But yeah, I agree. Like they even said on Yelp, like you should respond because then you get less negative comments because most people don't want to have that conversation, and you shouldn't respond angrily. They said like you should be professional and sometimes joke around.
Yeah, never respond like you're wrong.
But when people start to see like, oh, they respond within like 2 or 3 days, maybe I won't write anything.
Yeah.
Or like I'll hold back on my review. There are people who just really want to.
There's some wackos out there. There was one guy
I enjoy very much because sometimes I look at reviews and
Yeah.
maybe there are bad companies out there, whether it's service, real estate, breweries, whatever, and it's just a hostile owner. And seeing the crazy responses some of these business owners will, it's just like fighting words.
Yeah.
And I could eat that up. I could read that all day long.
Yeah, no, I mean,
But it's not
fighting
it's not
words.
It's not
gets
effective.
clicks and stuff. But what does that do?
It's not effective, but man, I get it. There was a guy on Facebook on one of the moms groups, community groups, actually, the one in Farmingdale that gets all the complaints. And he was angry at the Nutty Irishman because on December 23rd, which the next day was basically a day off for most people, it was really busy. They removed all the bar stools to make more room, and so nobody used one as a weapon. And he got there at 2 a.m, and they wouldn't give him a bar stool, even though it was pretty much empty. And I'm thinking, number one, they wanted to close.
Yeah.
Like, they were out of there, and you were holding them up. Number two, so you go online and bash the owner because there was no bar stool for you at 2 a.m. There's like 50 bars on Main Street. There's actually not. It's like 10. But in the same group, that's what they always say. It's too many bars. But you found the only one that probably didn't have a bar stool on a Thursday night, and that's where you wanted to stake your flag as this is my spot, and you took it away from me.
But those kind of reviews, people see through them.
Most people
know those people.
Your customers do.
Yeah, most people do. I mean, I think people really just need to, I'm not going to tell people how to handle stuff, but like take a breath, take a day, and then see if you're still pissed off about it the next day. And then maybe write a review. I started doing that on my responses because I was getting very angry.
It's personal.
Like it is personal.
I was there brewing for 12 hours, and now you don't like.
It's like my blood, sweat, my blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of tears, and you're just bashing, right? So like I was starting to take it personally, and then I'm like, no, I can't respond that way because I've seen those. I've seen those with barbershops.
It doesn't make the business owners look well.
Oh my God. I'm like, man, you look worse than the person complaining.
Without a doubt.
But like, because in the end, that's one person. If you respond nicely, other people might see it and be like, oh, that guy was being a pain.
Right.
These guys seem cool. They dealt with it
sorry
professionally.
You didn't like our haircut. If you want to come back in, I'll try to do my best to make you happy.
Absolutely.
So glad so many of my customers like our style. Stop by. I'll give you a refund if you didn't like our style. Now it just becomes a personal preference, which is probably what that was. I didn't like your beer because that's not my style. If you only made IPAs, I would not like your beer at all. I couldn't drink any. But I'm not going to go online and say, Manny's a jerk and he doesn't understand how to make good beer because I didn't like any of it. And even if I did,
right, you got to say why he's a jerk.
Before you were talking about your fans, who's fans of your brewery, and that is how you look at it because you have fans, not necessarily just customers. Your fans are going to see through it. The scary thing as a business owner is, will the next group, somebody who's trying to find a brewery, maybe they're going to another one on Main Street, and they're like, hey, let's go try this other one, and the top review is, this place sucks and they have fake flowers. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That might hurt me. That could be $50 I don't make that day.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think you do have to respond, but in a clever way so that maybe when they're reading it, they read and they go, well, that person was a little bit too critical. I like this. I'm going to give it a shot. Because the same thing with me. Like, I don't listen to people's movie reviews because I want to see it myself.
One of my favorite movies, Waterworld.
Really?
Yeah, I
like that movie.
I liked it.
And some people hate that. Most people hate that movie.
I mean, I think it's rated as one of the worst movies ever made, and I don't know.
That's
I kind of
like good movie.
It.
I thought it was a good movie.
I did too.
Agree.
I could still see that guy talking about the dry paper, losing his mind with the
rotten
teeth.
God, yeah, that was a good. They spent a lot of money on that movie.
I guess that was part of why it got panned,
because they said it was going to be like this huge money maker, and people just didn't dig it. I liked it. I thought it was cool.
And then they did it on land and called it The Postman. Same movie.
He's great. Kevin Costner.
He's had a whole resurgence with Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. I haven't seen it. I heard it was good.
It was good.
Yeah, he's like a cowboy now, like in real life.
I wonder if he did this show and then became one.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to become a cowboy now.
He's like, I love this style of life.
The only person who has become more of his character is the guy who played Elvis in the Elvis movie.
Oh, man.
I forget his name, but he was at the Golden Globes and oh shucks, I don't know. You know, he sounds like some guy from Memphis now, and he's born in like LA.
Some people say it's his voice, but some people are like it's cringy to watch him because he's kind of like turned into that. And he can't let it go.
Yeah, no, and he's doing. It sounds like an impression of a Vegas impersonator of Elvis. So to me, the impression isn't of Elvis anymore. It's an impression of Elvis, which is what you do as a spoof, not as your new life.
Definitely. But yeah. So anything else you guys want to talk about local stuff?
What have you been liking locally? Where great restaurant,
well,
great place
I know you've mentioned it that I've actually been studying on my personal Manny Lithology, MC Lithology thing. I started feeling okay. I talk about local, but like I was like, I'm gonna start sharing local stuff because I just don't want to talk about it. But like I do a thing where it's like my support local series, and it could be anywhere. It could be wherever's local to where I'm at.
Local's local, and we're Long Island. It's all connected, whether it's here or Mineola or you know.
So
Riverhead.
It's more of a mentality.
Yeah, like especially on Main Street, I go to a couple places, and it's almost dangerous for my diet. But I mean, I love Whiskey Down. The Ultimate BC is my favorite thing to get from them. And I switched to Tots for French fries. Of course, Flux Coffee, because they're right next to me, and I get free coffee from them. And Elise's Nieces is one like crack.
That place is really cool.
It's crack.
It's such a cool place.
And they support us.
Right.
I obviously love places that also support me. But Elise's Nieces is such a cool vibe. We've done a tasting there because she carries our stuff and like she paired dessert with our different styles of beers. So, and if you haven't had her coconut cake, you should have a coconut.
Yes, I've had it.
But
when I go there, it's during the day when I make good decisions. I don't make bad decisions till I get home from work. So I rarely eat their sweets, but their coffee, iced coffee.
My wife is addicted to the Pop-Tarts they make.
Oh, man.
They make homemade Pop-Tarts.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. You haven't had one?
No.
So imagine pie crust, the best part of it, like the dry, crispy pie crust with some sort of a light fruit filling in the inside. And obviously that pie crust is good, like a Pop-Tart. So try that out.
And I guess like near me, I'm living in Car Place, is this place called Plancha, right in Garden City. They have another sister restaurant, Salumi, in Massapequa. So this one's the Spanish version, not the Italian, because Salumi is Italian. So it's tapas. Just went there recently. I hadn't gotten there in a while. Bronzino, to die for. And then, get all these different, like, patatas bravas, bottled wine. It's really great stuff. And we go there. We try to go there at least every 3 months. And Spontino is my, like, every Friday happy hour right in the shopping center where in Westbury, where, like, Trader Joe's is.
Right.
Spontino Italian restaurant that also has, like, tapa-style stuff. Their happy hour on Fridays.
I'm a big fan of those small portions, so you could try a few different things. It's the best way.
Yeah, because then you're just not like, oh, I'm stuck with this one meal. Like me and my wife like split a bunch of the stuff.
I've talked about it a few times. Vico does a lot of like the small portion. It's not a tapas place, but it's definitely a place you almost need 3 entrees for 2 people or 2 apps and 2 entrees. It's all small European style portions. It's nice to just be able to try a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean, I was living in Astoria before all this. Like, I grew up in Mineola, moved to Long Beach, moved to Queens, now back in Car Place. But the great thing about Astoria is there's so many different great restaurants, so many different things. And now what I'm finding is that more and more through Long Island, everybody's kind of bringing that passion of making great food, and you can find it here on Long Island. So it's almost like, why leave Long Island, right? One thing I wish that they had on Long Island is trains that went from
north to south.
Because then you would.
Did you know
there's
there was a trolley car that used to go from Huntington Station to Amityville Station
We
down
should
110?
do that again.
I don't know why that doesn't exist.
How do we start that? Like, can we start a private
run
business?
for governor, I think.
No, because imagine having that, like on the 135 and maybe on the Meadowbrook or maybe somewhere out east. You could now then take the LIR back and forth.
And we're building up all our downtowns into some awesome places.
Yeah.
So let's connect them. Why can't you do Massapequa and Huntington, or Bethpage, and then head over to Mineola? I guess
Yeah,
that would be good.
because like LIR was designed to get everybody into the city. That's all it was designed for. So it's just no longer. But that was when everybody only went to Long Island to like go to sleep.
And I grew up on Long Island, so maybe that's why. But like to get on a bus, it's just not. That ain't gonna be. I'm not gonna stand on the side of Hempstead Turnpike waiting for a bus. But
No.
if it was like a hop on hop off trolley car, like New Orleans or San Francisco has, I'd be all over that.
Yeah, I think
No car seats.
I think like you would get people to stay on Long Island, and it becomes more of like infrastructure built with helping all locals, because like everybody, again, you wouldn't need to go pack the city. You wouldn't need to take the ride there, because like you don't need to. There's plenty of great places to hang out, to just visit, to have food, wine, mead, breweries. You just need the infrastructure for it, because like Farmingdale, we're right by the train station. Why aren't we getting more people? Maybe people just like, from Long Islanders don't like to go with extra steps, get on the train really. But I don't like to do it. I mean, I've taken the train from Car Place, but I have to wake up to the early one to get me here at 18 minutes. Because if I don't, then I have to go to the one that stops at Hicksville and I got to wait an extra half hour. And that becomes like a waste of time.
You do your series, you run into all these local businesses, you do like 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
Like a real...
It's exhausting.
On what it is.
We were just talking about that.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's fun. It's great. I like it. I'm just trying to, you guys doing this, the podcast and stuff. We were just talking about, last thing I want to talk about is like, the fact that now business owners have to do other things.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I was an electrical contractor before this. I didn't have to do all this.
Right.
This is kind of right in between. Even though I see there's Louis the Boiler Man. I don't know if you follow him. He's fantastic.
Check it
He's
out.
a boiler guy who does all the stuff that I do, but like for boilers and like for plumbing stuff. And he wears like Superman suits and does the weather. It's hilarious. You should follow him.
It could be exhausting though, because you either have to outsource this, which is expensive, or you're doing it yourself, which means at 8:00 at night, after you got dinner and settled your kids, or you watch some TV with your wife, and it's like, okay, hold on, I got to go edit video.
Yeah.
It's like you always had a lot of hats, now you have more hats. So why supporting small business is so important, because they're doing all this stuff to stay relevant. And the big giant restaurant firms, they don't have to do all that. They hire one marketing company to just handle everything.
And the thing is with them too is they have like a schedule thing where it was just like boom, boom, boom. 5 things were posted today. They didn't remember. They scheduled that like months ago.
Yeah, 3 months
Where
ago.
like I'm sometimes going, oh man, I gotta freaking, because like we're just launching something, and I forgot to say that we're launching it. So now it's like, is that gonna be too late? Should we wait? No, we gotta launch it. Like we're doing bubble beer. Have you had bubble tea?
I have.
Okay, so my partner was obsessed with, in Japan they do bubble beer. So they put those tapioca balls in beer. I'm like, we're really gonna do this? Really? I was like, but we should promote it. Like,
You get a bump just out of people who are, that's the most ridiculous, dumbest idea. I'm going to go try one to tell you how good it wasn't.
So that's what Kevin was like, all right. I was like, you know what? Let's do it.
Why not?
But I really wanted to promote beforehand. But then sometimes you're just like, whatever, you just got to launch it, because it's just exhausting to remember, to plan, to schedule, I'm sure. And then you guys started this, why? Because you just want to have another branch, something different, people doing podcasts. So why not?
Well, it's a way to get out there, right? It's really hard for you to have 100,000 people try your beer, but you can get in front of 100,000 people showing your beer, introducing your beer, and maybe giving a compelling argument to taste your beer.
And if you can't get in front of 100,000, we'll settle for 1,500.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, somebody argued
Viral
me,
can
like,
mean a lot of different things.
So somebody said to me, no, I'm not somebody. I watched a video and somebody was like, when you complain, like maybe you only got a couple likes. If you look at the views, and he's like, you got 500 views. When was the last time you were able to be in front of 500 people?
Do you know what a marketing company would charge you for 500 views?
Yeah.
One of these real estate trainers said the same exact thing. You got to start doing video.
Yeah.
Think about if you get 25 views. Could you, in a classroom, have 25 people listen to what you have to say? No.
Yeah,
Then you get 50. Think about a classroom of 50 people. It's real people.
Well,
Yeah.
you have places that they'll rent out the library to have 25 people come, and they spend money on food, and 7 show up, and they all pat each other on the back. All right, we got in front of 7 eyes today.
Yeah.
You could shortcut that by doing video work.
Yeah, so like sometimes I used to get upset about the likes or the lack of
You still
whatever.
do, and I still do.
And you do, but then you got to kind of like step back, and I got to remind myself like, but 1,000 people saw my stuff today.
Right.
And even though I didn't get viral, like 30, 50, 60,000, 1,000 people saw my stuff today. And like, if what you say, like imagine marketing, paying for 1,000 sleeves of flyers.
Yeah,
that you need to get to somebody,
and you get a mail.
One of them comes back.
That's $1,200.
And you used to do it all the time, right?
Yep.
One of my jobs when I was ninth grade. I don't know if you know Mike Fink. He's a real estate guy.
I think,
familiar
from Mineola.
Mineola,
He was an art teacher. One of my jobs was filling envelopes of his stuff to mail out.
Mark talks about him. He's still in the business, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mark talks about him.
And that was one of my jobs. I used to get paid to fill up envelopes. I'm like, that's a lot of freaking envelopes.
Yeah,
that's a
is.
lot of people that he was paying.
A lot of
he was
stamps,
he was paying
people to
us.
stuff 'em. He had to
and he was
buy 'em.
paying the stamps and all that stuff. And now you get to right here.
it.
Let's say 50 people are watching me, 50 people watching you guys. That's great. But it is exhausting, and you do take it personally sometimes. You stay up at night like, what's the next trend? What's the next thing? But I think just being authentic is a huge thing.
That's a prerequisite. You have to start there.
Yeah.
If you're not authentic, there's nobody's going to watch.
People buy
nobody's
people before a product or service. So you got to talk about all the stuff besides real estate for people to get to like you and know you and feel a connection.
Yeah.
And then you could talk to them about real estate. It's the same kind of thing. Unfortunately, with the brewery, it's people are going to find you everywhere except your tap room before they come in and try the beer. They're going to find you online. They're going to find you, in Yelp. They're going to find you on Facebook. So then you got to be in front of people as much as you can, putting out lots of cool content, which is your whole local thing. And then people are like, this guy seems cool. Maybe I'll go try his beer.
Yeah.
And maybe you catch somebody like, not that I'm far from a big customer, but somebody like me who goes, oh, maybe this is way better than Miller Lite. Like this, actually, I kind of like craft beer better to the point where now I don't know the last time I had a Miller Lite.
I think it's also like, well, I like both beers, but I'd rather be supporting the person who actually cares about local or supporting like.
That's the type.
You could go to other real estate people, but why go to you guys? You guys are, now you got this. You're teaching people. I heard you were teaching people about another way to not foreclose or just I didn't know that. I own a house now. I was like, oh, that's like no one talks about that. No, everyone's like so afraid to talk about it.
If you end up in that situation, it's hard to find any resources because if your boiler goes out, what do? You call your friend. What do I do? I
the plumber.
When you're 2 months,
telling you guys
when you're 2 months, when you're 2 months behind on your mortgage, you don't call your friends. Be like, hey, last time you were 2 months behind your mortgage, what did you do? Manny, I've never been 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know who to call.
It's embarrassing.
I don't know who to go to. So,
it's an embarrassing thing to talk about. So it's good that you brought it up because it happens, obviously.
Yeah. We're in business. We know
it all the time.
We know things aren't always apples, what is it, pie in the sky or whatever. It's not always roses. Sometimes there's some thorns.
Yeah.
So local stuff. I went to Dominican for about a week and a half ago with.
Where is that?
2 doors down, the Dominican restaurant.
Oh, okay.
And they've renovated the whole inside, make it more of a restaurant.
You'd think our mixer is pretty cool. They got a DJ mixer the size of a
in that
6-foot
small
table.
space.
Yeah.
So really? I show up and actually I think it was this suit to make the reservation for 20 people on a Saturday night at 7, and the guy, the manager, someone told, ask for the manager so you get it set up because sometimes you're not always sure they knew what you're talking about. And he says he looks at me, what time? 7. I don't know if that'll be good. So why? Well, we have music at 8. I said, good, yeah, that's why we're coming.
He's like, you don't look like someone who
we have a lot of fun.
Music.
We have a lot of fun here. It gets a little loud.
That's how
I said, yeah, that's why.
That's why we're here.
That's 20 people. We're looking to eat and hear some music, and we're going to the DR in the summer, and we figure this will be a way to kind of make that trip feel longer.
Thematic trip.
And we got there at 7. It took a little long to come out, so we had the table for a nice long amount of time. Food was great. $70 a person for a ton of alcohol and food, and they had this DJ set up like what a club could have.
Wow.
And
It's like Meatball, but like
older
for
guy,
older crowd.
Yeah. Older guy, I assume was Dominican, singing. So he was
Oh.
like the Frank Sinatra singer, but singing Spanish music, more pop stuff. And you had young people dancing, you had middle-aged people, and then you had the grandma show up who, I don't know, she might have been 250, 300 years old, and she's got her walker and she puts it aside and she's dancing. I was like, this is the coolest
That's
place on
awesome.
earth. So go check it
didn't
out on a
realize that.
Saturday night. It's pretty busy, all types of people. It's
cool.
not
Yeah, my wife would
weird
love
thing.
that. That's something different. I didn't know. Like I've been meaning to go there, and then that other place, the Grandma's Kitchen, is that Dominican?
I don't know what he is. I mean, no, it's kind of a cafe menu.
Okay.
So he worked in diners, I think, a lot, the owner, and
Do you know how they're doing? It's
people
a weird
are eating
spot because it's like it's still part of Main
it's a
Street.
terrible location.
But you really gotta like on the other side of the track.
It's the wrong side of the tracks, even though that's the expensive part.
It's a speakeasy restaurant.
Speakeasy breakfast lunch
Yeah.
place. They got great food though.
Yeah.
Really great food.
And what about
Check it
your
out.
last thing? What is your local thing you go?
It's football season, so the last couple of weeks, the Cowboys were in the hunt. Unfortunately, they lost.
We knew
but
that was coming.
I've been going out for a lot of football, so I've been going to Johnny McGorry's a lot in Massapequa Park, right
Okay.
in the train station. Their wings are bomb. It's a cool place.
Oh, actually, I passed by there to drop off samples. I have to go there again. I remember I saw it. I was like, it does look a cool place.
I know a guy over there.
Really?
Yeah, so we could we'll talk after
Yeah.
this.
Awesome.
But yeah, I love that place and football.
That's a great
really cool.
neighborhood place, man. Like it's kind of, there's a good mix of people from young and old. They got great food and
Yeah.
It's one of those places
Music
that
and
give back
sports.
too. You know, they're sponsoring things. They're hosting Massapequa Mustangs football. They give back, so it's
Massapequa
cool.
Mustangs took Mineola Mustangs. There's both. Jeez, too many
Guess so.
Mustangs.
I guess so.
I didn't realize that Massapequa was the Mustangs.
I don't know
Also.
if I
Just the
realized.
youth. Just the youth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
The
Massapequa
Chiefs.
Mineola Youth, I think, might be the Chiefs.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's the Mineola Chiefs.
That's really weird.
They,
Yeah.
they made a deal.
Oh,
on
yeah,
to
the
use equipment
Massapequa.
Massapequa Chiefs are high school.
Oh, the high school.
for now.
And PAL or Massapequa Mustangs.
For now. Yes.
That's going to be a big thing soon.
I mean, it's weird because Mineola is the Chiefs because I think Mineola was a name of like a tribe or
It sounds like it would
yeah.
be. And Massapequa certainly was.
Yeah. So
But yeah, that's gonna be an interesting fight because the pretty much the day New York announced that basically anyone that has an American Indian name in their mascot's gonna have to change it. The Facebook groups went nuts. The amount of signs, once a chief, always a chief, started showing up. So
it's going to be a big fight.
yeah, I mean it happened in the NFL and I guess
but not
people got
the
over
Chiefs
it.
though. Chiefs apparently
That's true.
in the NFL is not a problem.
Because it's
'Cause
not a
you're just-
derogatory term.
Yeah, you're explaining
It's a recognition
a broad
of-
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
The problem to the one side is that the mascot of a chief, it's always an Indian Native American in a giant headdress, and that only existed out on the plains. That wasn't the Long Island tribes. But I mean, I don't know. So there is a way around it. You have to get a tribe to sign a letter that they approve
Really?
of your mascot and your name. Otherwise, you'll be the chefs.
Or the fire chiefs.
Fire chief, FDN.
Police chiefs.
Yeah.
I think New York should actually rename everything. Law enforcement, FDNY. Get rid of all the chiefs.
Yeah, well,
But like chief means like boss, right?
Right.
Like it's like a
Who knows?
Massapequa mafiosos.
like could you
It's how you identify what
chef
chiefs are.
chef or chef.
Well,
But yeah, Johnny McGorry's get their wings, drink their beer.
Sal's place too for wings. Oh my god.
It's interesting because Sal's Place, I used to love their wings like so much, but they're breaded, and I used to like that. And over the years, I've kind of gotten away from breaded wings. But I had,
For health reasons.
but last Sunday I actually had wings at Sal's Place for the first game, and then wings at McGorry's for the second game.
You like the
Oh, you
McGorry's?
get out. Wow.
Oh, I don't
Who is-
usually.
How does he do that?
I was gonna I was like, I'm
He's
working
got more
until
kids than
this.
me.
No, but the last 2 weeks I
That's
went out.
great.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do it again.
Football season kills us because everybody's at like
Place with
bars that have, for that are
Manny.
football bars and stuff.
You got to get the big TV for football season and do like,
I'm doing boxes next year.
yeah, sure, but do the oysters, man.
I like it.
NFL
No,
and
because
oysters.
I think we got to play towards it. Like we used to shy off of it, but I think it has to happen this year because
Call it like a pop-up.
winter was a little tough. Like January is
Yeah.
tough. It's because most people who are going to drink are going to go to football places.
I mean,
So,
there's a couple wings places close by you could probably do something with.
I think I could find somebody. Yeah.
Do a pop-up NFL projector.
Oh, I got one
Oh,
thing.
I like it.
Because I got John.
Okay.
Why don't we do an Oktoberfest in that back parking lot? It doesn't have to be a big thing, just like a brewery, thing. Get the oyster guy, get a sausage guy, and the 2 breweries on Main Street just set up in the parking lot.
I love the idea. I think it could
SLA.
happen. We
It's always
started.
the SLA.
It's not the SLA. We actually started. The Village has gotten great at responding when I give them enough time to shut down like 4 or 5 spaces, and we end up like closing the back area and
Right.
making it bigger. We had like a dog costume party, and we had our anniversary party like that.
A lot of fights.
What, for the dogs?
Dogs.
No, they were fine. They
The
spread
dogs
them
are
out.
fine. The owners kept fighting each other.
They so I think it definitely could happen. We kind of like shied away because the last Oktoberfest, no one really wanted to be inside, so we didn't do it this year. But that's a great idea considering we have 2 breweries now, and like we could say like, I guess if we kept it local, like I had Chitty's set up a table,
Right.
and they had like portable stoves that they were making.
You just make it that set, because the north end of Main Street always kind of gets it's sometimes forgotten about in these events. So like, you have something a lot of the other places don't, which is a section of the parking lot that's pretty easy to close,
Especially with the laundry
right.
being there, because you can't go in anymore if I cut off mine. So you really have all of that.
Joe White is going to love this, but maybe we'll have the chamber take the lead for you, make it a little easier. So again,
I like it. We could make it an event.
Make it an event, and as a business owner, like you love when, hey, you should do this kind of event. Great, like let me drag all my crap outside and then back in at the end of the day. So
I don't mind it as long as like if the Village is for it and they're like, and we like promote it the right way and we plan it the right time and it becomes a thing. Like if the chamber wants to help also promote it and we get local people to do like cheese, not just cheese
whatever
steaks, but like we get somebody to do bratwursts,
right?
And I'm sure we could find a local guy that will.
Can't imagine it'll be hard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Manny, thank you,
guys. Thank you.
This
was fun. It's great. I'm gonna have you guys on my podcast.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you at the brewery. I want to check out the
jukebox,
bubble beer, the jukebox, and the new tasting room.
I'm ready for a beer.
Bubble beer. Come check it out.
Thanks for listening to Those Real Estate Brothers with Joseph and Jared. Subscribe now to get updates on future episodes, and please share it with others. Want to connect? Message us on Google, Facebook, Instagram, or text. We'll see you next time. And remember to always work hard and be nice.